It is almost Thanksgiving. We're all very excited up here. Everybody in the studio as well. As 55 million Americans are going to gear up to travel for the big feast. Lots of people are worrying about a new guest at this year's table. Who is it? Well, it's the popular weight loss drug like Ozempic and Wegovy. These drugs are hugely popular, and they're changing the waistlines and eating habits for millions of folks. So why are people worried? According to the Wall Street Journal, it comes down to questions about what people are eating and what people are not eating, changes in people's appearances, and an explanation for why. And finally, if and how much people are drinking. So what do you all think of this, and how do you handle these types of questions from family? Erica, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, I've understood this to a certain degree, because when I would have big changes in my appearance, because I was like working out and competing, I would always be asked stuff like this. But I think
you were in fitness competitions for
right.
everybody.
How did it make you feel though when people would talk about your body?
Well,
or
I
ask
think
questions?
it depends on who's asking and why, because sometimes it was like the butt of a joke, and that's not great. But I think a lot of times it's projection, because they're saying, okay, well, this is what we're doing and we're keeping things the same, but you're kind of like rejecting our way. I think the same thing kind of happens when people quit drinking for one reason or another. And I don't think it's ever appropriate to ask someone like why they're not drinking. And it's not even that why you're not drinking. I just think that people say it in a way like, oh, but you're not drinking, but you're so fun when you drink, you know, and you don't know if that person has an issue with alcohol or not. So ultimately, I don't think it's really about the person that they're questioning. I think it's really about them and how their changes make them feel.
So true. Really quickly, before we move on to the next part of the conversation, as far as alcohol goes, and someone that's been sober for how long now?
December 2019.
Woo-hoo! How have you handled in the past when people have said to you, are you drinking? You used to be so fun. Has any of those conversations ever come about?
Well, that was I'm glad you brought that up, Sam, because there are going to be a lot of people going home for the first time that maybe stopped drinking 4 or 6 months ago, 3 weeks ago, and the biggest thing that you're worried about is how to tell your friends, because that's probably been part of your identity. Oh, it's Big Jeff, you know, he gets it in. And then like, do people want Big Jeff at the party?
Right.
If you're not Big Jeff anymore, if you're not Frank the Tank anymore, and you'll be honest.
Probably not.
That's what I honestly thought. And you know what, man, it's so weird that we put obviously we send ourselves around in the world, but like when you tell people that you're not drinking, they'll be like, okay,
yeah,
all right,
oh yeah,
more for me. So like, don't worry about it. Don't let it make it weird. Like, people will be happy for you. It's all good.
Great advice coming from someone with experience. Okay, so there is another dinner conversation that a lot of our viewers dread. We've read your comments.
Is it
and
about
a lot
Frank the Tank?
It's not about Frank the Tank.
Everybody loves him.
It's politics, okay? And according to a new poll, more than half of Gen Zers are opting to actually skip family gatherings altogether to avoid uncomfortable disagreements. Speaking of which, one woman on TikTok has gone viral for her hack to prevent folks from bringing it up. Take a look.
I have a solution for you. Announce at the beginning of dinner that anybody who brings up politics in any way, shape, or form will be seated at the children's table and be responsible for entertaining the kids for the rest of the night. That should keep their mouths shut.
So what do you think of this? And do you have any tricks to avoid talking politics? Tori, you have some suggestions?
I do. These are real good.
Okay.
I think they're from the Tennessean. Let's see if you all agree with them. Number one, someone brings up politics. Bring the conversation to around books that make you think. Huh?
What if they're political books that they bring up?
You go to number two, Al. Great question, and I got an answer for you. Talk about food that brings back some good memories.
Okay.
I like that one.
Okay. Yeah. Number three, talk about music that evokes deep emotions.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Music can be very political as well.
True.
You might really, you know, the small towns. What if that's their favorite
Oh,
song?
wow. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then four, if people go political, just start talking about the pets that warm your heart.
Oh.
I don't mind the food conversation
Right.
because I think that evokes memories of who started this dish and like how it might have changed, or somebody, put raisins in it.
Erica, you seem to have said that for a reason.
It's personal.
You just don't be putting raisins in random
Or maybe
things.
try them before you do that in your taco meat. And I know that sounds
Okay,
crazy.
see,
I know that sounds crazy.
You should have taken that to the grave.
I'm just telling you, it's a tradition in the
gross.
Shulman house, and it's a little sweetness with a spice of salsa.
sometimes you don't
sour
realize,
cream.
right?
It's delicious.
You always
you
realize that there's random raisins
anywhere.
in something.
I don't
A
want
bit of
raisins
sweetness.
anywhere.
Okay, all right, Jeff.
one likes raisins.
I know you're not a
Raisins
fan
don't
of
like you. Sorry.
Jeff, does your family ever talk about politics? And if they do you do anything to kind of get it back on track?
No, I feel like we're civilized that we could have a discussion. I think the world's kind of splitting up, right? And the discussions we have here and on television that you see on Instagram, they're not the conversations people are having out in the open. It's for people like your family, people like your good friends, people you invite into your house. People that I invite in my house, we could talk about anything. There isn't going to be, you could like one side and I like the other side about food, music, politics, whatever it is. I'm not going to be offended by your side or if you're offended by mine. If you are, you're not in my house. That's just how it is. And we're kind of separating into our own little microcosms and just inviting our own self. We're closing ourselves off to the rest of the world. It's a very sad thing. I'm not saying I like it, but my little community, my little circle of trust, I love it, and they love me.
I totally
They
agree.
do, because they accept me, and people don't these days because of how you think or how you look or a song you like. That's insane. You're
Tribalism.
insane.
Tribalism.
I'm not the one. I don't mind if you like that, but you're going to judge me for the things I like. That's where we disagree. You could bait it.